Why in God's name is Protos back? Like, I'm happy, but Konami, you banned one floodgate and brought back 2 in the same list. I just don't get it. Now, while I don't like floodgates, for the past couple years, I've been a huge fan of Swordsoul, and I've never had the opportunity to use Protos in a duel. So I decided to revisit the deck for a video. I'm also testing Ghost Ogre as I think it gets better this format with the release of the Tenpai Dragon archetype, but before we get into the duels, make sure to subscribe. I'm inching closer to 1,000 subs, and honestly, I think we can achieve that goal sometime in May. Also, comment below what attribute you're most excited to lock out with Protos. Round 1, I was up against Andrew, better known as Doc Conrad on YouTube. He does a ton of videos on Master Duel N/R format, so go check him out if you're interested in that. Anyways, Andrew was playing Magispectors. Luckily, I won the die roll and went first and set up a board of Yugioh, Qixing Longwan, and 3 back row. I also had Protos in hand, but I decided against it as I knew he was on Magispectors ahead of time, and I didn't have a good way to lock him out of wins. Though now I know that locking him out of darks is still as good, as it makes it so they can't summon things like SP Lil Knight, Access Code, and Beyond the Pendulum. Andrew starts with the ye old play of summon Terratop, search Taka Tomborg, and summon it to make Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. While this is problematic into my board, the next thing that Andrew does is activate Pot of Prosperity, meaning that he can't use Gossip Shadow this turn as he can't draw cards by effects the turn he activate Prosperity. Prosperity gets Andrew into a copy of Saravis, and on res he uses Wind to tribute Gossip Shadow and summon out Bumbuku. I didn't know this about Magispectors until this duel, but apparently all of the main deck ones can't be targeted, which is honestly really powerful as my Yugioh, set Imperm, and my set Blackout all target cards to use their effects. But anyways, his Bumbuku adds Yamarashi. On res, he summons Yamarashi and triggers its effect to set the Wind from grave, but I chained Qixing Longwan to banish his Yamarashi. Andrew then normal summons Toad and uses his effect to set the quick play Pop from deck, and on res of that links his 2 monsters for Nue. Luckily for me, Nue can in fact be targeted, so I chained Yugioh to negate it. Andrew chains his Saravis, but I can just chain my set Imperm and still achieve what I want. The only thing he can really do from here is summon Typhon, but I can just use Blackout to destroy the Typhon on summon, plus the quick play he set from deck. And since he doesn't have a response, I can chain my own Heavenly Dragon Circle to add me some follow-up. Unfortunately, the Heavenly Dragon Circle gets ashed, but I had top decked Ecclesia anyways. And while he has the counter trap to slow me down, he can't stop me from getting to lethal since he was burned for 1200 so many times. Game 2, he goes first, and I drop another hand trap I wanted to test out. Yeah, I'm testing Shifter in the side, mostly for things like Snake Eyes and Tenpai, but I didn't run it into those decks in this video, so I only really sided in Shifter for this matchup. This leads to Andrew just activating Necro Valley and passing. However, when I start comboing on my turn, Andrew hits me with Nib. I don't have that much follow-up here, so while he doesn't kill me on his next turn, I can't really operate fully under Necro Valley and end up losing. Game 3, I go first and open the nuts, being able to summon Chowfang before starting my main combo, but there is one way I fumbled here. I had opened Protos again, and once again I thought to myself, it won't really hurt his deck if I summon it and call it dark, plus if I had summoned it and got hit with evenly matched, I'd lose out on a great way to break his board on turn 3, so I kept it in hand. Unfortunately, this was the wrong call as Andrew did not have evenly matched, and he ended up summoning multiple dark monsters on his turn. This leads to him fully breaking my board, and even ashed my Chowfang's effects to search a tuner. However, he didn't end on any interruption, so when I top deck Moye for turn, I just pushed for game. Good games to Andrew. Round 2, I was up against Caleb on Memento. He won the die roll and went first, but my hand was legitimately perfect. Yeah, I just kind of had everything, so he ended up getting OTK'd very fast. Game 2, he went first again and actually went uninterrupted, so he ended on Combined Creation, Gaddock, and a set card. I started off by activating Emergence, but it gets ashed, which is perfectly fine because, once again, my hand is amazing. I summon Shithana, but Caleb decides to shotgun his mace here to take control of it, and from here, Caleb doesn't have much to stop me. Sure, an Imperm on my Boxia stops me from shuffling back a couple of his cards, but with the help of Chain Gang, I can break his board, leaving him with only his field spell and his top deck. Plus, I have Blackout set, so the moment that he has a second card on field, I can use Blackout to destroy both of them. Good games to Caleb. Round 3, we're up against someone who wishes not to be named, so I'll just call him Phil. Anyways, Phil's on Vanadium. He won the die roll and went first, establishing a board of Chain Gang, Cross Sheep, and 2 back row. I had bricked and I couldn't really do anything when he passed it back over to me, so instead of letting him know what deck I was on, I just scooped. Game 2, I went first and set up a board of Yugioh, Qixing Longwan, and a set D barrier. Unfortunately for me, the first thing that Phil does is fire off Duster. This forces me to either lose my D barrier or make it so he can't synchro summon. Plus, with that second option, I would make it so my own synchros are negated. I decided that this second option is probably better as he wouldn't be able to kill me this turn, and I end up being correct. But Phil still ends up fully breaking my board and builds his own board of a 3-mat Appaloosa and SP Lil Knight. When he passes back to me, I normal summon Taya and head straight to battle, and use Taya to beat over his Little Knight. With one less interruption out of the way, I go to my main phase 2 and use Taya's effect, but Phil chains Appaloosa. I chain Heavenly Dragon Circle to fish for a potential Ash, but he chains Called By to negate my Taya. Resolving backwards, Taya gets negated, and Heavenly Dragon Circle adds me Protos. I summon Protos and I attempt to use his effect, calling Dark. I call Dark because one of the ways that Vanadium likes to bounce back on the next turn is Vicious Astrolaud, which is a Dark type. For some reason, he lets it resolve, and I set another D-barrier and pass. The next few turns, he just sets monsters and passes. With not much else he could do about Protos, I end up taking the game for practically no good reason. Thanks again, Konami, for banning Protos. Game 3, Phil goes first, and I drolled him, leaving him on an end board of SP Lil Knight and Changing. My hand is amazing, but I have to navigate this very specifically if I want to make the most of it. I special summoned Vishuda like the skilled gamer I am, and I link it off for Monk. I could use Vishuda to bounce Changing here, but then we'd both control one monster, and I wouldn't be able to special my Ecclesia, so I decided to just summon my Ecclesia first. This way, if he chains Lil Knight to Vishuda and targets Ecclesia, I could just chain the Ecclesia's effect. He does end up chaining Lil Knight to Vishuda, but he banishes my Monk and Changing instead. On resolution, I activate Ecclesia, but he ashes it. And from here, I can normal summon my Moya and go for game. Good games to Phil. To be quite honest, this is a pretty short locals. We only had 6 players, and that's because another shop nearby was hosting a case tournament for LEDE. Regardless, I still enjoyed playing one of my favorite decks. Protos is definitely not a healthy card for the game, but I'll be damned if I say I didn't enjoy using it. Overall, I'd say that it should not have come back, but for as long as it's back, I will make the most out of it. Also, I still think that Ghost Ogre is good this format, and when it came up today, it felt like it made an impact. With all of that being said, if you enjoyed today's video, please make sure to subscribe, and if you want a sweet playmat like mine, head on over to GrimoireAccessories.com and use code GOKI5 at checkout for 5% off your entire order. But with that, my name is Gokuzemi, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya!